In fact, one of our very earliest volunteer, Jayashree, is also here today. Thank you, Jayashree, for being here. So anyway, let me introduce Nirav. Again, he's another volunteer. He's a entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur. He was founder of a company called Cellmania. In fact, one of his colleagues who just sold another company, Mark is also here, I just found out. Nirav was founder of Cellmania, which became the app store platform for RIM, Research in Motion. I'll just leave it there. I won't talk about RIM more. But anyway, that was good. As an entrepreneur, he successfully exited that company to Cellmania. And so he's our co-chair, again, giving a lot of his time, other than working very hard for RIM to get back its price beyond the iPhone price. I mean, Apple's stock price. So thank you, Nirav. And with that, I'll just hand it over to him for organizing a great group of highly accomplished panelists which we have here. And I'm sure you'll have plenty of opportunity to ask a lot of questions. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Thank you, Naveen. I hope you guys can all hear me back there. So I think we have a great panel today. These guys are all experts in mobile advertising. They live and sell it. In some cases, buy advertising or invest in companies that advertise. So I'll just start off with some opening comments to frame the market for you. I'm sure you're all aware of advertising. Mobile is a close cousin, I would say, to desktop. The estimates by some people are it's overall worldwide today a $5 billion market. US is about $3 billion of that. There was a projection from Mary Meeker in May that it is going to be a $20 billion market. And we'll discuss that topic, whether our panelists here think that's is that going to happen, or is that just pipe dreams? So I think we'll have a lively debate on that. Some other interesting facts. People say that it takes somebody to reply to email 90 minutes to get a response on email on average, but it only takes 90 seconds to get a response on text. Right? So mobile is a much more immediate platform. Mobile internet is about 10% of the worldwide internet traffic, and roughly about 10% of the desktop advertising is 30 billion. It's about 5 billion, so it roughly equates. But in places like India, mobile and desktop internet traffic are about the same, and mobile is going that way, and desktop is going the other way. We also have 100 million smartphones in the US, and I think about close to 1 billion worldwide. And that is another inflection point. The rich device gives a much richer platform to have much more engaging advertising. So those, I'd say, are some of the sort of interesting facts. But I'll just quickly introduce the panelists, and maybe they can spend some time describing their backgrounds, what got them into mobile advertising, and for those of the panelists who are entrepreneurs, I think it'd be interesting for the people to hear why did they start the companies they did, and what were some of their lessons. So I'll start with my good friend, Mark Strecker, CEO at Amobi.
This is what? Hi everybody, so Mark Strecker. I started a company in 2004, 2005. Well, before that, I'm from England originally, went to college and grew up there, and actually then went into management consulting, and that's when I was working with a company called Orange, who had 1,000 employees, and they were basically a startup themselves, and that was some 20 odd years ago when we helped raise money, and I really got into mobile. And then I saw Silicon Valley, and I thought, well, I'm going to come here to Silicon Valley and become an entrepreneur. So I started doing that in about 2004, 2005, where in mobile back then, there were no real smartphones. You had Windows mobile devices. And saw an opportunity to basically create an on-device portal to bring applications, to bring data services to the idle screen. Because on a mobile phone, that is arguably the most expensive real estate or valuable real estate to someone who can control it. And went out there and tried to, we raised some angel funding and tried to go and sell that on-device portal business or to mobile operators. It was a slog, and after about 3 years to 4 years, we've grown the revenues, but it was clear we needed to have a server-side technology, and I was introduced to Nirav and his co-founder Ron John, who bought my company. And so we then went about the world selling to mobile operators, particularly in Asia, Cellmania. So for those of you who don't know, that was an App Store platform really geared towards carriers, and we had an on-device rich client technology now where you could really help monetize, and this is before iTunes and Apple and all those kinds of things. And I spent a good part of 2.5 years going around from New Zealand up to Singapore and China and India, selling to carriers. And right around the time that Cellmania was being bought by RIM, I decided to leave, and what I could see was apps were all basically free. About 80% of the apps that we had on the App Store platform were effectively free, and advertising was the only way I thought that you could monetize them. So I joined Amobi some 2.5 years ago, which is a mobile advertising platform, initially for the carriers, really leveraging their data to help people monetize and provide more contextual applications. I'm the CEO, I run the company day to day. Recently, we grew that business from $1 million into tens of millions of dollars, and even more than that today. And we were acquired by Singtel back in April of this year. So we grew that business, and as part of that, we also, what we do is we work basically for the big guys. So we're the company, if you're serious about mobile advertising, whether you're a publisher or an advertiser, you come to us and we help execute it for you.
Good evening, I'm Dave Pomeroy. I'm the CFO of Rhythm New Media, and probably many of you have not heard of Rhythm, but we are trying to become a leader in mobile video advertising. And the way we do that is we've created a publisher-side platform that allows large content owners like your big media companies, CBS, NBC, ABC, to take their video content and take it to mobile devices. So we can make it compressed for distribution over mobile networks, display on all sorts of smartphones. We pair it up with advertising, and we help those content owners monetize their assets on mobile. So it's a unique model because we really help them, and they are able to both sell the advertising themselves using our technology, and then we sell it as well for them if they're not as capable of doing that. So we can capture both the 360 buy that a network might try to do, and then we also do the mobile specific buy. So my background and how I got to Rhythm is I've always had a passion for entrepreneurship. I worked for a very small company called Web TV Networks quite a while ago, then was acquired by Microsoft, but sort of was at that company through the hyper-growth phase from no name, no public launch, from 0 customers, and we grew it to 1 million subscribers over about 3 years. From that, I went on to a number of large companies, got my start in mobile with Yahoo back in about 2005, pre-iPhone, trying to do WAP sites and advertising when nobody at Yahoo really cared about advertising, let alone any of the agencies or marketers cared about advertising on mobile. Then the iPhone came, and unrelated, I happened to go to Apple, was involved in e-commerce there, and then realized that entrepreneurship was my dream, so I came back to Rhythm, very small company, and really am helping the company scale and grow as this mobile advertising business is actually starting to really take form and be there.
Hello, my name is John Soberg. I'm a partner at Bloomberg Capital. So my background is across multiple different kind of categories and industries. Specifically in mobile, though, I was part of the founding team of a company called AdForce back in the 1990s. Early technology company that was DoubleClick's biggest competitor at the time. So we have fond memories of trying to take each other's servers down and things like that back in the day. I went, after the bubble burst, I went and worked at a couple of bigger companies since then, and then worked in a few startups before I came into the dark side of the world, I guess. And I've been at Bloomberg Capital for a little over 3 years now. At Bloomberg, we actually do quite a bit of investing in ad tech. We've done more in the online space than in mobile so far, but we've got a couple of companies in the mobile space, and so it's a place that I've been paying attention to. One of the more interesting things about us, I think, is that we, as an early stage investor, actually invest globally, which is not totally normal for especially a Silicon Valley early stage VC. So I sit on a board of a company in Germany in the mobile advertising space, and they're operating across the EU and also into the EMEA region. So I have at least a little bit of knowledge about some of the way that mobile is working in different parts of the world.
Hi, I'm Shrikant. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Vidopia. Vidopia is one of the fastest growing mobile video and rich media companies in the US market. We started off in the mobile space in 2009 with the launch of the first ever in-application video advertising, and later we launched the social connectivity or Talk to Me ads, and last year we basically invented the whole mechanism of playing video ads inside browsers, inside mobile web browsers. Again, all these technologies are geared towards one basic goal idea, which is to make mobile video advertising more ubiquitous and hopefully bring in more brands, and thereby helping the CPMs and the revenues in the market. We doubled in size about last year. We have got into the tens of millions of dollars in revenue this year. So.
Hello everyone, I'm Srinay Dharmaji. I'm the founder and CEO of Worldsport Media. We are still a mobile rich media company, which is an HTML5 based ad platform for agencies and publishers to create pretty cool engaging ads without having any knowledge of HTML5. So I started the company about 5 years ago in 2007, and the progression has taken us to the current platform, which is used by more than 50 advertising agencies as well as many premium publishers. And next week, we are launching the industry's first ever digital ad platform, which is to let the advertisers create an ad and deliver it to any digital device, which is one of the biggest pain points in the industry today. My background is I'm an engineer. I was an architect. I was a programmer when I started my career. I have a master's in computer science. I worked for 10 years on the East Coast, working for a lot of startups, and one of them, Dynamics Software, was acquired by Cisco back in 2005, and that brought me here to the Valley from New York, and ever since I've been in the Valley.
Great, thank you. So I think before we get into the dynamics of the market, it'd be good for the audience to hear from you all. Maybe give an example of an exciting or a successful campaign, and what made it successful.
I'll start.
Yes.
So we do a lot. We work directly with the brands a lot, basically using mobile advertising to drive engagement. And so for something that's probably unique, which you might not think of, Virtu, which is very, very high-end phones, owned by Nokia now no longer, but we ran basically all of their campaigns, and they're on mobile. So this was basically to get people into a store to basically buy a $10,000 phone, right? So what we did is we took their budget, several millions of dollars, and we ran campaigns around the world. The thing about mobile advertising, which we can talk about, is it depends on the market, right? So if you're in the Philippines or you're in Indonesia using SMS-based technology, if you're on the West, it's display and other times. But we ran campaigns where we would target individuals who had roamed 3 times in the last month. We used geo-targeting where we knew that they were in a 2-kilometer radius of a store, so we had geofencing. And we ran creatives on smartphones and iPads to really engage the user so that they would register, and then they got a coupon to basically go and buy that device. So we ran the campaign for some 3 months, and there was a considerable uptick of about 33% in terms of their revenue of driving people into a store using mobile advertising to basically buy a $10,000 device.
Great. We ran a campaign in the fourth quarter of last year, which was very interesting. HP wanted to have an engaging campaign for tablets, and this is sort of one that displayed the power of tablets. And so our creative services team worked with them, and they wanted to create a game that they can engage their users with about HP printing supplies. I guess you have to make it interesting somehow. But anyway, we made this game that had sort of a butterfly and a net, and then the user could engage with the game, capture the butterflies that would represent different HP products. But we found that the users, tapped through the advertisement on the large screen of the iPad and engaged with the campaign and the products, and the client was extremely happy with the performance.
So the tablet failed.
This was back in 2010. About the time we launched the social connectivity. We were working with Disney to basically create a campaign for iPhone for Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and this was one of the really big innovation that we had done around basically taking a video and essentially wiping the screen while the video ad is playing, the video ad was really designed so that it looks like an iPhone timer. So people feel that their phone has been taken over completely by the iPhone timer, and it's logged, and then there is the sand that comes off. It's the sands of time, and really amazing execution. While the sands video is playing, the user gets to wipe the screen off and then interact with the ad. Amazing engagement rates. Over 20% of people actually wiped the screen and interacted with one of the icons on the screen.
Mine was a lot of it, but I remember distinctly one pharmaceutical campaign where the challenge was within the banner space on all the devices, on the mobile device, on the tablet, and on the PCs. The client wanted, this was Simsia, it's Johnson & Johnson, if I believe. They wanted rotation of the banners, they wanted video within the banner, and they wanted scrolling of what is called the ISI text, which is the important safety information. It's mandated. If you go to webmd.com, you can actually see that scrolling text on the right-hand side, which is one of the hardest things to do. Even HTML5 does not support it. I think that's one of the pretty coolest ad units that we cracked, wherein we saw a click-through rate of more than 2%, for that particular ad, and because of that, plenty of millions of campaigns followed from the client.
Okay, fantastic. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what kinds of interesting campaigns people are running today. Now let's bubble up to sort of the size of the market. I'd like to ask the panel whether they believe this market is going to be a $20 billion market. But again, today it's at a $5 billion worldwide run rate. So Mary Meeker's projection is $20 billion in the US. I don't recall when she said. There's a
2015, 2016. Maybe I'll go. So I'll be controversial. I think it's going to be bigger than that. The reason being is mobile for me is in advertising. It shouldn't be considered as a separate vertical. It's horizontal, right? So where we're finding the biggest traction is to give you some stats. Advertising in general. If you look at advertising worldwide, everything, TV, print, radio, you name it, it's a $500 billion industry, okay? Of which about, I think it's $175 billion is on TV, right? And so the way the ecosystem works today is agencies make a lot of money doing TV commercials, doing very creative work, which they're good at. Today, you can't do that really in mobile. Traditionally, it's been, it's a text message or it's a very simple banner. But now with the onset of rich media, video on a mobile phone, now brands can really be creative. They can create very interesting ad units which agencies can create, and then that drives higher CPMs, and advertisers will spend a lot of money because mobile is the holy grail. You can basically target an audience that it's a very personal device, and get your message, get your brand out there in front of those, in front of that audience. So the sort of the two things that I think about it is one, just it's a massive market, which is from TV now is going to start moving into mobile. But then the other factor is not just mobile by itself; it's the way that mobile engages with the world, right? So instead of just thinking of mobile as a banner ad within an application, think about mobile as when you walk up to a poster and there's some sort of recognition. The ad is rendered on the phone, but you're now basically taking billboard advertising dollars to do that, to make the advertising work. Or it's print, right? So you can see there are technologies now where you have augmented reality where you can, on the phone, it will gear off a brand logo, but now the ad in virtual reality is happening on your phone. So you're now stealing dollars, or dollars are moving from the traditional print, billboard, even the TV space, and we talk about 3-screen, and going to mobile. And so that's why I think it's going to be much bigger than $20 billion market.
I suppose as the investor, I should probably weigh in here. I actually, this is probably, I don't know if we were supposed to create controversy. I tend to agree that it's going to be bigger than 20 billion. And worldwide, I think it's going to be even bigger than that. I think the question is the timing of it, and I don't know that I fully believe that it's going to be there in 2015, but it also, to me, depends on how you define advertising. Because I think in mobile, it's not nearly as clear as it is online, and it's not nearly as clear as it is in in TV. And so that's part of, I think, where there's going to be a gray line, or just a whole gray area. But realistically, I think that if you project 5 to 10 years from now, the majority of the advertising dollars are going to go towards mobile devices. I just think, people carry these things with them all the time. This knows more about you than any other device that it's not even close. So if you think about the patterns that people have, if you think about the use cases that are available with the phone or even with the tablet, there's so many opportunities that we haven't even hit on yet. Because essentially what I see as an investor is, first version of this looks a lot like advertising did in 1997, 98, when people were kind of throwing something up there that was fairly relevant, and you take technology that has already been used in other areas and you apply it to mobile. And it's gotten much better, it's moving a lot faster than it did in the late 90s, so I do think that we're going to get there faster than we have, but the form factor is also different, so you can't just throw a banner ad up there and assume that that's going to work. One of the things we see with a lot of with mobile advertising is that a lot of it would be classified as not high-performing inventory for the most part, but I think part of that is because we haven't figured out exactly how to do it effectively to engage that audience. Some people, when you look at the top performing apps that do in-app purchases and things like that, they're doing amazing, and I think it's because they figured out how to engage the person, get that person to actually pay or to pay attention at different points in time when it's effective. So I think it's a huge opportunity, but I kind of categorize the mobile monetization opportunity as much bigger than just advertising, and I think that it's not clearly defined.
Okay, let's keep the controversy going a little bit more. Let's go back to the television advertising, right? When we see the TV ad, it doesn't matter whether you are actually watching it on your 80-inch home theater in your own big Palo Alto home, or in the swimming pool, or you're actually watching it on a 27-inch television. An ad is an ad, an impression is an impression that is counted. I personally believe that the right way to look at the market is the digital ad market, because there will be devices no matter what. Already, there are 4 screens. You have the laptop, you have the tablet, you have the smartphone, and you have now the smart TVs, which will have apps, which will have ads on it. Right? How do you classify those? The form factor part of it, how to adjust, how can you creatively make the 2D space into a 3D space, that is a technical problem. It is not an advertising problem. It's not a marketing problem. I think that is why startups are there to figure out this problem, find good answers to this. But end of the day, I don't know how many, I'm pretty sure a lot of people know, Google launched AdX. It's a platform to combine display inventory across all the screens. The goal is to provide the kind of infrastructure to brands so that they can manage display all by themselves. And of course, some part of the ad ecosystem is going to get cannibalized in the process. But again, the simplicity and the presentation to the brand is they don't really care whether it is what device you're watching it on. I mean, the brand, all they want to do is they want to follow you on whatever device you are on. You're on your laptop, at home, you check your stuff, then you're on your tablet when you're in meetings, and then when you're on the road, you're on the smartphones. All the brand cares about is, I want this audience. Advertising is always done targeted for audience, not for devices.
So just to be opposing everybody, although I believe that it will be greater than a $20 billion market, I think there are several important things that need to happen in the market to make it $20 billion or more. And a lot of it is to do, I mean, it's basically, go back 10 years, late 90s, right? There was mobile, there was advertising, there was SMS, text, advertising. And then there were purchases, there was app downloads, everything was there. Things did not happen. I mean, it didn't grow. And I primarily blame the carriers for that. Every one of you has some carrier experience, except me. But I do blame carriers for that. And again, one of the things that when it comes to mobile at this time period is the amount of freedom that mobile is given versus online. I mean, it goes back to the cookie debate, the device ID debate. If advertisers are not able to identify audiences because of issues with the policy regulations, it will eventually make the market grow much slower than it's supposed to. I agree with John about the time frame because I mean, will it be 5 years or 10 years? Depends entirely on how people allow it to grow. So I mean, it's a continuous debate on how we can make it a $20 billion market.
So just to chime in a little bit, the overall digital ad market in 2016 is projected to be 200 billion. So 20 billion is one number, 200 billion is a number for overall digital.
And I can't contradict any of these large numbers because I wholeheartedly believe them. And some of the data points that we see is that some of our major publishers, we're starting to talk about the digital or the online mobile crossover, where some of the traffic patterns of their sites are now becoming more heavy on mobile smartphones and tablets than they are on their PC websites. So I think those massive shifts will then pull dollars over into these more mobile experiences. And the tablet, it's your TV, it's your magazine, it's your newspaper. It's like, as was said earlier on the panel, it's like the advertising is to follow the content. The content's going to be viewed on mobile. And that's what's really going to make this thing take off.
Okay, so if we all believe it is a big market, it's a question of time. Anybody else wants to chime in from the audience with an opinion?
I think it would be great to ask the audience how many people ever click on a mobile app.
Okay.
Well, the question I have.
Okay, let's how many people, raise your hands if you click on a mobile ad. Intentionally.
I guess the other question is, going back to the PC, right? How many people actually click on a PC ad?
Yes.
Google AdWords and other stuff. So if there is nobody in this audience that has ever clicked intentionally, I don't know where the numbers come from.
Okay,
What's their future?
Fair enough. Good question. Any comment? Maybe it's the wrong audience.
Front-end audience. We don't click it.
Okay, let's get it.
I think this is part of the reason why I say that I think it could take some time, because what we see as investors is that a lot of this inventory doesn't convert very well. So the ROI arguments are not as strong in some cases. Now there are exceptions for sure, so I don't want to say that that's across the board true, but especially when you see traffic, I mean the patterns that you see for publishers is if their traffic moves mobile, they're losing revenue. And it's because they can't monetize the mobile piece yet nearly as well as they can monetize their website. So I think the dollars are going to flow there as soon as we also can figure out how to convert that traffic. So there's a piece to this that has to go hand in hand. I think it has to do with content. I think it has to do with relevance. I think it has to do with understanding what actually is interfering with somebody's experience and what is actually helping that experience. Because you can help my experience. If I'm walking down the street and I want a coffee, and you can show me where the coffee shop is, that's total value add, and I will click on that ad. If it's completely irrelevant, you're going to send me a coupon for a spa or something like that. It's not necessarily going to work. So I think there's a lot of things that we still have to work on that's going to help that to convert.
So one other thing to answer your question is, in online, I mean, what is the click-through rate on online? It's typically less than 0.01%. Nobody clicks on it. So you are talking about direct response kind of advertising, and there is also brand advertising, right? I mean, typically if we break it down into the type of advertising, you have the direct response kind of static banners, which is like the classical Google model, the advertiser pays per click. Then you have the flash ads, which with animations, where it's based on impressions. The user doesn't need to click. It's paid based on how many views the ad has actually seen from the audience. Then you have the most annoying and irritating page takeovers, which nobody wants. And by the way, none of us really want to click on ads. I don't do that too. I build a lot of them. And then you have video ads, right? Again, the business model for each of these different type of ads is different. So categorizing mobile purely because people don't click on it, I think is the wrong way to look at it.
I actually mirror the same feelings. Again, I mean the other question is how many people actually click on TV ads, and it's actually zero because there's no click through on that. Yeah. Actually children do that these days. I mean with iPad. They don't touch interface on smart TV. That's so sad. Yeah, but basically when you are talking rich media banners, it's not just about what the user will click. It's what he will do once he sees the ad. The unfortunate part is even with television and online, Google gets the credit for it. I mean, you watch an ad on TV, you search for it on Google, click the paid ad, whatever, and then you buy a product. And it's unfortunate, but Google gets a lot of credit for it. Luckily, TV has companies that support this whole mechanism, which is like Nielsen, who, they're able to measure what is going on. There needs to be, of course, a set of technologies that will come up that will do the same, and companies are starting to do that. And from what I see, it's like, what are you watching on a TV? The entire screen has an ad on it. It's the area of the screen multiplied with the time it is running for. That is the impact of the ad. And the same philosophy can be applied in this particular case with video ads on mobile devices. I'm not entirely convinced on the direct lead based advertising on mobile. I think that's a fault of people not really purchasing a lot of things on mobile. They use it more as an informational device yet, and that's basically how it works.
I would say, again, to be controversial, I'd say actually mobile advertising does work but the problem is it's too many impressions are out there. So the big problem that the industry has, and maybe we'll talk about this later, is there is a lot of traffic that's just totally useless to the advertiser. So the thing that you have to do if you're, what we try to do is where do you go and buy those impressions to drive the results? So a lot of the campaigns that we are measured against are not just on per click, but it's actually the cost to acquire that user. So, typically our contracts will be a big game company, and they'll say, okay, we want, you are measured on driving 1 million downloads of my application. And they basically pay on a per download basis. So they'll say, okay, we'll pay on average $3 for you to acquire that customer, and that's how the contract is set up. And we drive millions of downloads. But you've got to go and do those buys very, very intelligently. So you have to use a lot of data and to basically go and figure out You know, where do you go and advertise? How is each channel working? And then monitor that on a daily basis. And you know, it takes a lot of technology, a lot of science. Going back to something earlier, to give you an example, one of our customers, Intuit, so some of you may know Intuit, during tax season, they have TurboTax. As a stat, 60% of all new registrations of TurboTax is done on a mobile phone. So soon, TurboTax, in probably 2 years, 100% of the ad budget will be on a mobile phone, and they're selling PC software.
All right. So let's talk about what trends we see. There's various formats of mobile advertising. There's text, there's smartphone, there's video, there's search, there's in-app. It's just, you know, ads are all over the place on mobile. What do you guys see as, you know, what areas are the fastest growing, and what areas are declining, perhaps?
So, let me get started on this. So the 5 billion budget that we were talking about, the 5 billion number this year for mobile, a majority of it is mobile search. Majority, right? And very small portion of it actually is being spent on display. That is the fundamental problem with mobile, whether we like it or not. Social, Facebook just about started advertising with the sponsored stories. But again, they go back to one of the questions that Paul asked, which was like, why are people not clicking on it? Well, I mean, if you have a sponsored story that has a brand logo and said, your friend so-and-so liked it, without really giving the creative room for the advertiser to showcase what they're trying to sell, the actual product messaging, obviously your product is not going to take off. That is probably one of the bad types of advertising, if I may say, in terms of promoting a brand. So how that would be fixed, I don't think any of us on this panel can do anything about it. I mean, hopefully I can do something. But as far as display is concerned, the fundamental problem, again, going back to the display area, is like for every dollar that is being spent on digital, 90 cents is being spent on online. Only 10 cents is coming to mobile. And out of the 10 cents, there are more than 100 companies fighting for it. So that is the state of the market today. In terms of growth, I think digital will grow. There has to be some company that will come out and say, forget about the device, forget about the form factor, let us do advertising like television. We will give you this. And that company is bound to take off big time.
I would also say, I mean, it depends on the market. I mean, if you're in Southeast Asia today, it's all SMS. I mean, there's no display market, right? So, or search. So it depends on a global basis. In the West, there's more display, probably, more so here in the US than anywhere else. Then in Europe, today we run campaigns down in, we have a data center down in Latin America, but again, primarily an SMS-driven market today. Now, if you look at the growth rates of smartphones, though, in Southeast Asia, India, I mean, soon, probably 2 years from now, there'll be more smartphone-class devices in those developing. So there, you'll start seeing display and rich media advertising start to take off, like it's being used here in the West.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. So we see that it varies dramatically by different regions of the world. I mean, Turkey, for example, I don't know if anybody knows this, but is one of the best markets for mobile in the world. Growing very quickly, the right demographic, the uptake in just mobile devices is dramatic there. So there's places where it's absolutely working. And I was going to say too that I agree that the technology is the key, because if you can't find a way to target the right people or to get these things to convert, you end up with essentially treating mobile like remnant inventory online. But if you can do that, then it can convert very well. There's plenty of impressions out there. There's plenty of opportunities to do this well. So I think that the best companies are already executing well and will continue to have those opportunities. And I think we've said people do convert. I mean, you can look and it's crazy what people will do on a mobile phone. In travel, a huge percentage of travel is booked on people's phones, and if you try it, I mean, go try to use some of the travel sites on a mobile phone. It's a painful experience. So somebody really wants to do that. So there's some real intention there, and I think that as we get better and better at this, there's huge opportunities for us to really truly monetize it.
Let me just add one thing on that, and my personal behaviors have changed, and now I'm an Amazon customer, but I actually transact a lot of transactions on Amazon mobile app right now, which shows you that the spirit of m-commerce, once that starts really happening in force, then the advertising will have to follow. But what we haven't talked about in this forum is the difference between lean forward and lean back, computing or consumption. Where a PC is a lean forward, it's a working device, it's great for transactional advertising and executing transactions. The mobile device, which is a smartphone or a tablet, is great for leaning back, watching a show, reading a magazine, which is a really good environment for brand advertising. So while we might not measure the clicks, and none of you in the room has measured a click, the brands are still reaching you through their messaging. And we are all victims of 16 minutes an hour of television advertising, and I don't know how many people watch those with DVRs and everything, but that's a market that's about to implode. And all those dollars are going to go somewhere, and if people are consuming these videos and newspapers and magazines on these devices, the advertising has to follow.
I'll just add to that. I mean, if you look at I forget who produced the report, but on average, in the US, the average time watching TV is 4 hours a day. So, I find it staggering, but anyway, all right. That's why Oprah is, a $1 billion lady. And people spend today 3 hours, almost 4 hours on their mobile phone. So you've got two mediums where basically people are spending the same amount of time on those two devices. Yet you look at TV being a $175 billion ad market versus a $5 billion ad market. Soon that's going to change, right? We can debate when, but there's no question that mobile is the perfect medium that's going to start driving a lot of ad dollars.
So basically, I mean, if you think about what ad formats, messaging is definitely going down, and everything else is definitely picking up. Just because the number of devices, the smart devices are growing, and they enable most of the other forms of advertising, search, display, video, and everything.
So one other thing that I'm sorry.
There's a question.
Before we take the question, we forgot about one daily deal section.
Yes, go ahead.
So Groupon and Living Social, like now, I mean, from what I'm hearing is like close to 50% of their deals are actually bought through the mobile phone. So do we classify that as mobile advertising? I don't know.
Probably isn't measured, but I think it's a good point. So let's talk about some of the big elephants in the industry and what impact they're having on the mobile advertising space. So what impact are you seeing in your businesses from Facebook, Twitter, Google, and Apple? Let's start with those four guys. Friendful, Indifferent.
We don't see much on Facebook, Twitter, Apple. When typically our customers are the mobile operators, the big publishers. They definitely see sort of the Apple, Google's of the world as folk. And so how do they go and before they get cannibalized or become irrelevant, what do they do? And one customer segment we have is the mobile operators, and very much that's why they see mobile advertising as one of their key revenue streams. And it's less actually about them becoming media companies. It's more about them using their data to drive contextual advertising. So the thing that mobile operators have is they have a huge amount of data. And the thing you have to understand is an advertiser actually doesn't care about who you are exactly, they care more about your profile, right? So if you can use data contextually to say, okay, we basically know this person is male, female, age, demographic, and location, and a whole bunch of other things, then figuring out in real time what's the right ad to serve them, that becomes a very effective medium. So it's how do companies take on before, Google starts to, as we talk about, convergence using, multiple displays, how do other companies compete against them? So a lot of the work is done to say, okay, how do we sort of stop Google from taking over the advertising in the mobile world?
So, Apple, I think, it's kind of a misnomer that, just because they have a very, very targeted vertical like iAd, to classify them as an ad company. I mean, come on, it's a 640 billion market cap company. Their business is selling hardware. They're neither a software company nor they're an ad company. by no means. I mean, going back to like what obstacles we do see, it depends on the type of ad business you are in. It's such a vast business. I mean, in our business, we partner, Google is one of our biggest partners because, our ads run on pretty much any inventory, Yahoo, Google, or Microsoft, anybody that we don't really care. We work with everybody. The real issues here, as Mark is trying to bring out here, is the convergence of the screens. Yeah, that's where we are headed to in terms of getting a pie of that, because we know that at the end of the day, the ad agency business itself is going to be cannibalized. We don't know when, but that is pretty ripe for disruption, and Google is going to do it, just like what they did with search, that they're going to do exactly the same thing with display. When? That's a big question. But as our company, as a startup company that specializes in eliminating one specific problem, because we are not Google, it makes a lot of sense for us to work with companies like that.
Back in 2009 or so, Apple actually bought Quattro, and at that point they launched the iHats, right? That point was really the inflection that we saw in the amount of brand advertising that had started to come onto the market. I mean, brands really started to get it. They made a major push, iHats, and brands actually started to get that mobile advertising makes sense. We saw huge growth in our business post that. I mean, we don't do a lot of marketing, but it happened almost overnight. We started getting new advertisers. So I think all these companies, the larger ones, are playing a big role in growing the market, and I think that's phenomenal, and it probably will make this thing happen faster.
Okay. So let's now look at it from the perspective of the different players in the market. So you have on the one hand the consumer who's getting the ad, and perhaps like Paul, he doesn't want to click on it, but he's being shown the ad. There's and he's worried about privacy and how come this thing knows about my location and my habits, that stuff. There is the brand and the agency who's looking to get their impression and their engagement, and then there's the publisher who's actually trying to make that's his business model. Whether he's an app developer or he's a website, that's how he monetizes his content. So I'd like to hear from the panel, what do you see, what are some of those conflicts? Obviously between these three, there are lots of conflicts. And how are some of them getting synergized or not?
I'll work the stack backwards.
Okay.
Just I think from our perspective, the publishers sort of need help. And we spend a lot of time helping them take their content to mobile devices. And we got in there early and really helped them when they really had nothing going on. I mean, a lot of the media companies we work with are, they distribute through television, and there's an established ecosystem. There's lots of money flowing that direction. It's their way they think, the way they act. And so these mobile groups we work with within these large companies are these little tiny groups who have new resources. And so we help them, get to market. And eventually it will become part of the mainstream, and I can see it going. In some media companies, it's like nobody cares, and others, they think about TV and mobile the same. So I think that's definitely, we're an enabler and a helper of that. Generally we work with agencies, and I consider agencies to be greedy. And we have a view down here that agency model is going to go away. But the agencies in digital, and especially in mobile, are making 15% commission on these new formats, where in TV they make 1% probably. And so they see lots of money to be made by moving into mobile. They're establishing mobile groups, and they're really taking advantage of this shift and hopefully cultivating the shift as it happens. And I would say nobody likes advertising, so the consumer is in a juxtaposition that, boy, I like free content, but I don't like to pay for it, but I don't like advertising. So, as long as the providers in the market can do a good balance between content and advertising, make it contextual, make it personal and relevant, then it should be easier to swallow versus just this brand blast all the time.
So do you think there's an opportunity for a mobile DVR for the consumer.
Interesting. You can probably get your DVR content through your device anyway.
So consumers, I think whatever it may be, so there's a lot of companies that are either funded through their fund their mobile initiatives through their online revenues. I mean, Facebook is one of them, or you have companies which are funded by the venture capitalists, and they're able to provide free services. And of course, I mean, at some point, the mobile market has to stand alone by itself. At that point, I mean, there would be obviously two options to fund this whole growth and users and consumption and everything. The first one would obviously be purchases on mobile, and second would I mean, obviously be mobile advertising. And I mean, that's what the consumers want and will have. Either they pay for stuff on the mobile phone, or they'll get free content, which is ad supported. On the publisher side, revenue is good. They need to grow their user base. I mean that's pretty much what they want. And revenue also implies revenue per user, which is